Hey everyone, it is Brian here. I'd said possibly noon, but the way things are going 2020, I'm happy to be only 30 minutes behind schedule. So here we are. We are here. It is Tuesday. Man, I've actually accomplished quite a bit today. I'm proud of myself. The My wife decided to stay home from work, so I didn't have to spend as much time helping the kids with school. So I actually got some stuff done. Practically did an entire bridal and edited an entire bridal session. Responded to a bunch of emails. Got to go to the bank. What else did I do? I'm sure I did something else. Oh, I made this entire presentation that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So yay for being productive. Oh man. I hope everyone else is doing well. So a few things I've run into in the past day or two. I have several weddings coming up that things are possibly getting shifted around, moved. I don't think it's going to be a big deal necessarily, but it's the first weddings I've had really to deal with that. So I've got one on May 30th that hopefully is still going to happen on May 30th. I just talked to someone about a June wedding that's probably going to get moved, and another June wedding that might possibly get moved. So we're all dealing with this crazy world, and we'll be okay. But anyway, so what I have been able to do lately is yesterday I got to shoot an engagement session, and on Saturday I did an engagement session, and the week before I got to shoot a bridal session. So I am getting out there and actually getting to do stuff. So that's been nice. I've missed people. I've missed interacting with people, not children, and got to take some photos, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm just ready for this to all get back to it. So anyway, what we're talking about today is how to choose a location for engagement photos. Because that is something that can be kind of a difficult choice, kind of a struggle. And so hopefully these tips are going to be helpful. I know some of you probably already had engagement photos, so it may not apply to you, but you could use the same things for a bridal session. It's kind of the same process that I would go through, whether it's an engagement session or a bridal session. And some of these tips will also apply possibly to a wedding venue if you haven't already booked a wedding venue. So in general, just kind of talking about locations and what to think about, what to look for, and how to find that perfect place so you can have some wonderful photos. All right, so let's jump on over and see if I can get this to work. There it is. Now let's make it go full screen. Oh, and there we are. All right. So I love engagement sessions. Engagement sessions are so much fun, and I find them extremely useful for myself and for the couple. And we'll kind of get to that at the end of this whole thing of why you should even be doing these. Because if you're not doing one, I would highly recommend that you do an engagement session. It's just so important in my mind. Like there's out of all the weddings I might do in a year, there might be one or two where I don't do an engagement session with the couple. So pretty rare. All right, so let's jump into this. So as far as things I would suggest, the first thing I would suggest when you are trying to figure out a location is, of course, talk to your photographer, because all photographers are different. There's different situations that may be going on. And I'd hate for you to get your heart set on something and then it not work out. So some common things that photographers may kind of limit or tell you about. So different photographers have different rules about the length of the shoots. Mine in general usually last about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I mean, I know some that might spend like 3 or 4 hours doing it. That's just not the way I do things. And then, what just happened? Okay, sorry. Something pops up on my screen. And then there's some other ones that I just totally lost where I was going with this. So some maybe only do an hour. I don't know. Or maybe it's a special situation and you're only doing for 30 minutes. I don't know. So the length of the shoot is going to kind of limit what you can do. Because I mean, if you only have 30 minutes, you can't really go to 2 different locations. And that's kind of the next thing. Some photographers will limit the amount of locations. Some might say only 1 location. Some might say 2. Some might say unlimited. And it just kind of depends on the photographer and the situation. For me, 1 to 2 is pretty common. I can't think of a time where I did more than that, at least not off the top of my head. Because I mean, most people, especially guys, I mean, if you start dragging a guy around for 3 hours to 3 to 4 different locations and 3 to 4 different outfits, I mean, they're going to lose their mind. I mean, there might be a few guys out there that are really kind and happy about this, but most guys are gonna be like, I'm done with this. I don't want to take any more photos. I'm ready to go home. So anyway, so talk to them about the amount of time and the locations before you get set on it, but also how far are they willing to travel. So I've got lots of weddings coming up. Um, Lots of weddings coming up where I'm going to be traveling, and for the engagement sessions, it's going to be a little harder. Like for most of them, I'm not going to travel 3 hours for the engagement session by itself. But if they would come 2 hours towards me and I could go an hour towards them, I'm fine with that. So it's one of those things. Like I said, you just need to talk to your photographer, and they will help you. And they can also kind of just help you through the whole process. I mean, it's something we do all the time. So it's not a hard thing for us to do. All right. So apparently I forgot to put headings on all this, or titles, or whatever you want to call it. So the next kind of question I always ask people is, okay, what are you going for? What kind of look? Getting all types of junk popping up. I don't know if that's showing up on the screen or not. What are you going for? Are you looking for more of a city look? Or are you looking for more of a nature look? And again, depending on the situation, you might be able to do both, but it doesn't always work out that way. So that's the first question I always ask them. Now, once they've kind of decided on that, so if they are going for the city look, and you can still define it even more. Okay, are you wanting old buildings? Are you wanting something modern? Are you wanting something kind of grungy, like kind of, not necessarily dirty, but, maybe some graffiti going on? And so you just kind of ask those questions, and that's going to get you to certain types of locations that you can use. The same thing goes with nature. Nature is very broad. There are tons of different things you could consider for nature. So like the wide open fields in the forests, the really high grass places, ponds, creeks. See, even ponds and creeks are very different in the way they look and the way they kind of turn out. Not really around here, but if you're in the West, some deserts, I've seen some desert engagement shoots that are really cool. And waterfalls. So, I mean, some places might have like multiple things. So like there's some places that might have fields. They might also have a pond and maybe even a waterfall. But it's easier once you kind of know what it is you're interested in. So you just kind of tell a few things. Okay, we really like the look of the open fields and possibly a pond. Don't really care for the forest look. And that's going to limit and help guide you to the perfect location. All right. So if you still have no idea, your mind is blown. I have no idea what I'm looking for. Here's what I suggest. Okay, go to your photographer's website or blog and start just looking at photos. Okay, when you see one that you like screenshot it. And do that for a while. And then you can go back and look at those and be like, I really like this one because it has this background to it. And then you can show that to your photographer and like, oh yeah, that's here. That's going to be awesome. It's not going to be a problem. It's going to be great. It's perfect for you guys. Or you might say, that was actually 4 hours away, so we can't really do that. Or in my, gosh, it's so funny how things change. There is this one place I used to use for shoots all the time. And then they built a car dealership there. So maybe it's not even there anymore. That's always something as well. You could also look at Pinterest and just, again, look at different types of locations. Or you could just go to Google and be like, best photo locations near me. And you'll find some lists or something, and that you can kind of go through those and look and see if anything connects with you. All right. So hopefully that will give you a general idea of what you are going for, but there's still more. So other things you really need to consider. A lot of people think you can just go wherever you want and take photos wherever you want. And that is not true. I mean, it's only happened to me once and I felt like an idiot and I felt really bad where I took some people and I thought I could go there. And then some dude came out and was like, "What are you doing out here?" And we had to leave. So that was a long time ago. Don't do that kind of stuff anymore. So you can't just take photos wherever you want. You have to make sure you have permission. You have to make sure it's legal. So like if you just see a pretty spot on the side of the road, that doesn't mean you can stop and just take photos there. Sometimes it's against the law. Sometimes you're trespassing. You just kind of need to look at it. In general, most public places that people, are active are going to be okay. But even there's some restrictions. Like some cities require you to have a permit or something to do photos. Okay, so just something to think about. Your photographers should know kind of how to guide you on that. Other things to consider: is it super crowded? Okay. I mean, photos with people can be cool, but it also can be extremely annoying and distracting when you have a ton of people in the background or people just getting in your way in general. I mean, that happens a lot depending on if I'm doing stuff in the city or even a park where it's just really popular. And then the other thing, I've had this happen before. Last time I was in Kansas City, we were using a really cool park, and I literally saw probably 10 other photographers doing sessions. And so like we're all like trying to get to the same locations and use the same things, and we're just kind of like waiting for the other person to get out of the way. So those are things to consider as far as that. And I mean, how much space is there? Is it a big place where you can easily avoid all these people, or is it like a small place and you're all just going to be stuck there bumping into each other and it's like impossible to avoid them? So that's just some things to think about. You don't want to have all those distractions and things kind of in the way. Here's the one that most people don't think about because they're not photographers, is you have to kind of look at the direction of light. So I don't want to say never. I almost always put the sun behind people because it's not cool to put the sun in someone's face because then they look all squinty and it's really bright and not pretty. So you may find a location you love and it's got this really pretty view, but the problem is to get that view, you're going to be looking directly into the sun, which will not work. So you have to kind of think about what time of day and what direction am I facing. So if you're doing something in the morning, you don't want to be facing into the east because again, you'll be looking into the sun. In the afternoon, you don't want to be looking into the west because you'll be looking into the sun. So that's something that not a lot of people think about. Some other things if there's a lot of shade, you can kind of avoid that. If it's an overcast day, you can kind of avoid that. But I mean, I tell people a lot of the times, I'm like, it's going to be hard to use this entire direction because if you turn that way, the sun is going to be blasting you in the face and it's not going to look good. And I want people to look good. Okay. All right. One other thing to think about: is there any place that's really special to you guys? Like yesterday's engagement session, they'd only been to this place once, but it was the place he proposed. So we went down to the dock where he proposed and we did some photos there. And then we just kind of walked around to the place and did other stuff. You could use the place like where you had your first date, your first kiss. Already said proposal site. Maybe if there's just a place that's, really special because it's your hobby. Like I love movies, so maybe I use the movie theater or the drive-in. So just think about that, because anytime you can incorporate something you love into your photos, it makes it so much more interesting for you guys. It makes it more interesting for the people looking at it. And for the guys in general, they will have a better time if it's something they actually care about versus standing in some field that means nothing to them, So kind of think about that. If you can somehow mix that into it, that's always fun. All right. So why even do this whole thing and kind of my thoughts on engagements? I love doing engagements. I think they're so important. I think it's a great way to start off your wedding. So most of the time you don't want your wedding to be the first time you do photos. That's just, in my mind, that doesn't work very well. So, when you do engagement photos, you can take those photos and do a lot with them. So you can post them on post them on Facebook, Instagram, whatever you use. You can put them on your save the dates that you send out to people. You can print them off, use them throughout your wedding. You can have it on your guest book at the ceremony. So there's a lot of things you can actually do with them besides just, have them. My biggest thing is probably right here. This is a chance to get to know your photographer and how your photographer does things, but also a chance for your photographer to get to know you. And I think that's important because you don't want the wedding to be the first time that you guys are like interacting with each other and he or she's trying to figure you out and you're trying to figure them out. So it's always better if you can have those interactions at an engagement session beforehand, so everyone feels more comfortable with each other, so we know each other. And also engagement sessions in general are fun for the couple. I know guys, I say this a lot, guys tend to dread photos, but not all guys. But at least in my experience, most guys, when the way I do things, they actually have a good time and they enjoy it. And it's not nearly as miserable as they feel like it's going to be. So they don't hate it as much as they thought they were going to hate it. Okay, I feel like I was talking really quickly, but that's okay. Let's see if I can jump out of this and get back into staring at myself for a minute. I know isn't that fun to stare at myself, but here I am. Does anyone have any questions or comments or thoughts? I see a thumbs up from someone. I'm gonna see if I can see if there's any comments. Does not appear to be. Man, someone just like slammed the door in my house. That was really loud. So guys, as far as what I can do to help you with this, I know a lot of you guys watching this don't live right where I live, but I can still possibly help you. So if you are having questions about where you could do engagement photos, send me a message or email or whatever, and I can kind of like either look at things that you're thinking about, or I can, do my own little search and find things and be like, this place looks good, this place looks bad. Let me help you out. I don't care. I don't mind spending like 5 minutes of my life to help you find something that you're going to love. If you want, in the comments below, if you have some wonderful locations you would like to share with everybody, then I would love that as well. So you can be like, okay, I live in Kansas City, I live in Fayetteville, I live in St. Louis, I live in Dallas. I'm trying to think any other places I've got people on here. And like, this is the best place for engagements. This place is a secret place that hardly anyone knows about. I think that's always cool to share with people and help out if you can. But yeah, so engagements are awesome. You need to do them, have a good time with them, and find the perfect location for you guys. All right, I'm going to get back to editing and doing some other work. I hope this was helpful, guys. If you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me. See you guys.